You had asked why hadn't you seen Christians making postings about Easter, otherwise known as Resurrection Day. And I felt compelled to respond about your inquiry. And I hope that I do this in the most humble and loving way that I can. Now, there are Christians that are responding to Easter. They are making lots of postings. You may not be friends with them, so that's probably why you're not seeing them on your Facebook page. As far as Christians making postings on the How's It website or the Great Debate website, I think perhaps many of them choose not to because they feel as if they enter an antagonistic environment. We know that a lot of people on these web pages are not practicing Christians. They may be agnostic. Many of them are atheists. And even though it is a area for open debate and discussion and sharing of ideas, I think sometimes Christians have felt that their faith has been ridiculed. So I just wanted to give the reason why you haven't seen postings in the Great Debate. That said, I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about my faith, and I hope you can open with open ears. You have probably seen representations of Christianity in the news, particularly bad representations. And for that, I apologize. People have done heinous, horrible things in the name of Christ. And people like Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson, who claim to represent the Christian faith, have made outlandish, insensitive, irreprehensible comments about issues and whatnot, from homosexuality to God's wrath on a particular place that has recently experienced a disaster. I wanted you to know that they do not represent true Christianity in any way, shape, or form. It is true that Christianity is a fundamental religion, that we do believe that homosexuality is a sin, but we don't believe that it's the only sin. We feel strongly about having adultery or committing lies. Maybe we're not as vocal about that, and again, we apologize. And also, we don't claim that the Bible has every answer in the book, because the Bible doesn't. The Bible doesn't tell you everything that's ever happened. It only tells you what you need to know. And we are open to discussing what's in the Bible, including Old Testament stories about genocide that have been committed against the Canaanites, because those are written and those are in the Bible, and we cannot deny that. What we want people to know about Christianity is that God is very real, and what we practice is not ritual or some sort of ceremonial religion that maybe many have been brought up in the Catholic faith. It's really simple. It's about a relationship with God, and we believe that God showed himself in the form of Jesus Christ. And we believe that his death and resurrection are important, because if without it, we would not be able to see God or even stand before him. The gospel at its basic is this: everybody has been born with the natural instinct to do wrong. If you think about it, you were never taught to lie. Even if you were raised in an environment where you were never taught racism, you still instinctively knew how to lie, how to steal. You instinctively thought of only self. You know, little babies want to grab things for themselves, or children are often selfish. And these are displays of what is inherently wrong with us by nature. We believe that this manifests in the wrong things that we do as we grow up: lying, stealing, all of those kind of things. We also believe that God is perfect and holy. Picture a beautiful glass, crystal, diamond that is so pure and so radiant and so brilliant that not even an ounce of dirt can touch it. Something that is almost as bright and as hot as the sun. That's pretty much equivalent, as best as I can describe, to God's holiness. Which means that if this is how holy God is, anything that would be a standard before him that he could accept would have to have that same amount of holiness. So if we have a natural tendency to sin and a sinful nature, that means we have already been stained or tarnished. And that stain cannot come before something as brilliant as the sun, or in this case, God's holiness. And if something is already inherently wrong or instinctively wrong with us, there would be no way that we could make ourselves perfect or holy before God. And the wrongdoing that we do, this wrongdoing that we do inherently, has to be dealt with. That is justice. Think of it this way. If a child molester, or even something less common, a thief, steals something, it wouldn't be fair if the thief was just let go and he didn't pay the price. So in that same way, we have to pay the price. And because God is holy, and holiness only dictates that holiness can be before it, then the only punishment, or the punishment for that crime, would be separation from God. And because life exists within God and he is the creator of life, that would only mean death. And since God is eternal, then that would only mean eternal death. And eternal death, as biblical scholars have said, would mean hell. So going to hell, facing the punishment that you have done. And unfortunately, everybody, because we are born sinners, we are all destined to hell. It doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, or child. But that is where Jesus Christ comes in. God could not call himself a just God if he did not find a way to punish sin, even though he wanted so much to set us free from this inherent sinful nature. He had to find a way to rectify the situation, but still maintain his holiness, still do it in a way where he didn't bend his holiness or bend the rules. And the only way he could do that is if he found something, a substitute, that would take the place and take the punishments on our behalf. In the Old Testament, they used to do animals, but the animals were not enough because animals are not humans, okay? What was needed was a perfect human sacrifice, or a perfect human sacrifice that would be perfect. God didn't want to sacrifice us in that way, but instead what he decided was that he would do it himself. So, in the form of Christ, he became born of a woman, and he's God, so he can do whatever he wants. If he wants to become a human being, he can do that. So he became a human being, was born in the same way that all human beings have been born, through the birth of a mother, the Virgin Mary, and as God in the flesh, as in Jesus Christ, he lived perfectly sinless because he was by nature God, so he didn't sin. And he offered himself up as that sacrifice. that perfect sacrifice, so that anybody who wanted to see God, they could see God. And the way that happens is this: when you realize that you're a sinner and that you cannot make yourself holy, you look to Christ as the one that took your place. Now, it means that you have to acknowledge that God is real and that He is God and that He has control of your life. And it does mean surrendering your life. Surrendering meaning letting God tell you what to do with your life. But the God that you have probably seen in movies, where they were tyrannical, or they resembled Hitler, or they resembled the government in the Republic of Gilead from The Handmaid's Tale, that is not the true God. Because those representations of God are really just reflections of our sinful nature. When we try to imitate what we think God is, we fail. We fall short, because we only just represent how fallen and how evil we are. And we project that onto God. But in reality, that's just showing who we are. God is not like us. He's not completely, he's not err in ways, or he doesn't have ulterior motives, or he's not doing something criminally on the side here, or he's not like Zeus, where he's God and he has all these women at his side and he's sleeping with this person or that person. God is not like us. So that's why, and there is a mystery about God in that sense, okay? So because he's not like us, we can trust that what he says for us is the right thing. And so there is a sense of surrendering to God when you come to Christ, and repentance in the sense of when you come to God, you agree that what you've done is wrong, and you agree to turn from them and to stop them and to stop doing those wrong things. And that's really the gospel in a nutshell. Now, it's your choice to believe. If you don't want to believe, that's fine. And if you say this is all BS, this is crap, I think the Bible is error, which many atheists do. In fact, they're very emphatic on emphasizing this on Facebook about how much they don't like Christianity. That is fine. I would like to challenge them, though, that do they really have an issue with God? Or is it the idea that they have to be held accountable for the things that they've done wrong? Because there are other religions out there, including Muslim religion, that have the same values that we do. They don't agree with homosexuality. They think it's a sin. They disagree with abortion. But they are not as attacked as much as Christianity. So that was just all I had to say. And take this with a grain of salt. I hope I said this in the most loving way, but this was my response to your post. So that is it.